Alright, we got a Scareclaw deck profile. This deck profile is pretty fun. There is a tribrigadge variant of this as well. I'm not running it just because I like the pure variant personally, but you can also run the tribrigadge variant. It is a lot of fun as well. So to start things off, our hand traps are going to be our Maxi, which we're running 2 of, our Ash Blossom, which we're running 3 of, and then of course our Nibiru. I'm running 1. If you're going to be planning on going second, I'd run 2, although I like to be able to go first or second. And so if I max out on too many hand traps, I will have my ratios be off and I won't have the cards I need for my combos. But if you do plan on playing this as a going second deck, probably put in another Nibiru and probably put in evenly matched instead of one of the Imperms, which brings us to the last hand trap we're running, which is Imperm. We're running 3 copies of Imperm because it's just pretty good in the current meta. So our first Scareclaw, and by the way, all the Scareclaws, the main Scareclaws, the Astra, the Baloney, the Acro, and the Reek, all of them have that you can special summon this card from your hand to your main monster zone adjacent to a Scareclaw monster you control or in its column. And you can only special summon them once per turn that way. The in its column is basically designed so you can summon it directly below Scareclaw Lightheart when you have Lightheart in the extra monster zone because it points left and not down. But with that effect, you can still summon it and go into a link 2, basically. So, yeah, they all have that special summon effect. And then they all have the once per turn, your Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone can do something, like an added effect. So this one gives your Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone extra attacks equal to the number of face-up defense position Scareclaw monsters you control, with different names. So if you have, let's just say, 3 different Scareclaw monsters on the board that are in defense, you can attack 3 additional times. Remember, they are additional attacks, and it can also be directly. It's not just attacks on monsters. And then next we have Scarecrow Balone, which I like to call Baloney. So our Scarecrow Baloney here. Scareclaw Baloney. Scarecrow Baloney. If only I had a brain. If your Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So this guy and this guy, awesome together, just absolutely awesome together. Triple attacks and piercing, or just extra attacks rather than piercing. Next we have Scareclaw Acro. This guy's special effect is once per turn, your Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone gain 300 attack for each defense position monster you control. Fantastic effect. And then the last is Scareclaw Rich Heart, or Reach Heart. Once per turn, if he's normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Scareclaw spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If you have 3 or more defense position monsters on your field, you can draw 1 card, and you can only use this effect with Scareclaw Reach Heart once per turn. So being able to search spell or trap is amazing. But being able to search spell or trap and then draw, even more amazing. This card's definitely MVP. And then, of course, we have our 2 Rescue Cats. Being able to send this card to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from your deck, but their effects are negated and destroyed during the end phase. Only use this effect to Rescue Cat once per turn. So this effect is broken. This effect is absolutely, like, completely cracked with Scareclaw because level 3, level 3, level 3. And the only one you can't do is this dude who's level 4. But all your like other mainline Scareclaws, you can just beam them right on out. And so from there, you can basically go into Lightheart from one of them, use Lightheart, add the planet, use planet, add a Scareclaw monster, get the 3rd one on the field, and then bam, you got Triheart. Or if you had this in a different Scareclaw monster name in your hand, you can have what's it called? You can get 3 of them out easily, because if you have 3 or more, including himself in defense, you get to do the card. You get to draw the card, so you can easily plus off of that. Rescue Cat is insane value. Just be wary of being ashed. I typically don't really like to try and resolve it unless I either have to or unless I have the Crossout Designator or the Fall by the Grave in hand. But very good card in this deck. Next we have Visa's Starfrost. When this card's in your hand, you can target one monster you control with a different type and attribute than this card, which is not hard at all to do because most of these guys are Warrior and Beast. This guy is Warrior and Dark, so you can't do him. But Warrior and Beast are very easy to do. So target it, destroy that monster, special summon Starfrost. When this card destroys an opponent's when destroys an opponent's monster by battle, when destroys an opponent's monster, you can make this card gain attack equal to half the original attack and defense of that monster, whichever is higher. Your choice of type. So being able to give it a permanent attack buff is not bad. The main reason I actually use this guy is because sometimes it's just easy to have him as an extender. You can also run synchros pretty easily with this if you really wanted to. Level 9 is your best friend because he is a tuner. So keep that in mind if you want to run some level 9s. Next we have 2 Parallel Exceed. The reason why we're running the Parallel Exceed in here is because if you special summon by the effect of Parallel Exceed, level becomes 4, attack defense become half. You don't care about that, but what you do care about is if you link summon, you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone that link monster points to, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you can summon 1 Parallel Exceed from your deck. I am running 2 because I felt like 3 is bricky and I don't really need it, although if you want to see it more and you want that consistency, run 3. But I feel like dead drawing 2 of them at a time is not worth running 3 personally. So what you do with this guy is you bring out Al Mirage, you bring him out of your hand, you get a 3rd one from the deck. That's 3 effect monsters right there. And then bam, you can just easily beam out Tri-Heart just like that. The other thing you can do with that is you can also go Rescue Cat, let's just say this dude and this dude, Al Mirage, Parallel Exceed, and then you're just completely set at that point. So that's why we're running the Parallel Exceed. Next we have the Nibiru. Nibiru is just good to help you get rid of huge breakmyboard.exe boards when you're going second. And let's be honest, who doesn't like being on the casting side of Nibiru? Sucks to be on the other side of it, but I do love when my opponent's board just poofs away and Nibiru just comes out instead. So next we have Harpy's Feather Duster. Back row can be really annoying against this deck. Personally, I've been seeing a lot of Eldritch this season and I'm just done with it and I don't want to deal with it. So we have the Feather Duster. Then we have the 1 Terraforming. Being able to see the primitive planet is pretty good. Next we have the 2 Lightning Storms. Lightning Storm is just decent. It helps you a lot going second. If you go first, you set up board and you get blown out. Lightning Storm can also help you come back. It's just a decent card right now in this current meta. Next we have the 1 Scareclaw Arrival. You can target 1 Scareclaw monster or Visa Starfrost in your graveyard. Special on defense. If a Scareclaw Link monster you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use this effect Scareclaw Arrival once per turn. This is an extender. It is a decent extender, and it is a searchable extender. You can search it with your Reach Heart. So I personally really like this card. I've actually thought about maybe taking out a Lightning Storm running 2. We'll see how I feel about it at the end of the season. Next we have Primitive Planet Reach Phobia. When this card's activated, you can add a Scareclaw monster or Vista Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for every defense position monster on the field. This includes theirs. We'll get to why that's relevant later. If 3 or more defense position monsters are on the field, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use this effect of Primitive Planet Reach Phobia once per turn. you can only activate one primitive planet once per turn. So you can see why this card is busted, because it basically lets you search anything in the deck. So being able to get to it is important. That's why we're running the terraforming. And this guy also lets you search it. We'll get to that in a bit. Next we have Called by the Grave. If you don't know what Called by the Grave does at this point, you might not be doing YuGiOh correctly in this meta, because it's very useful, so we're going to go ahead and skip over it. Then we have the one Crossout Designator, also a staple. The one Forbidden Droplet, also a staple. I find Droplet is just very usable in this format. And then next we have the one Scareclaw Straddle. You can activate one of the following effects. Target one Scareclaw monster of Viscous Starfrost in your monster zone, and one face-up monster your opponent controls. Your monster gains attack defense equal to the opponent's monster's attack and defense, whichever is higher. So let's just ponder for a moment. Let's just say my opponent's playing Let's say my opponent's playing Sortel, and they got the big dude out on the board who has like 4,000 attack at this point. No problem. Normal summon Scareclaw monster, make him gain the attack, beat over. And then the second effect is when a card or effect is activated that targets the Scareclaw monster of this Starfrost you control, negate that effect. It stinks that it says target instead of just stopping overall destruction, but it's still decent enough, and it's a free second effect, so we'll take it. You can only activate one Scareclaw Straddle per turn. Next we have the triple Imperm, and then finally we have the single Scareclaw Slash. So this card's pretty decent. Once per turn you can target a Scareclaw or Viscous Frost monster you control. It can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, apply its attack or defense, whichever is higher, for damage calculation. When your opponent activates a card effect where you control a Scareclaw monster in the extra monster zone, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, negate that effect. You can only use this effect to Scareclaw Slash once per turn. So not only is it a useful negate, it can make your monsters that are turned into defense be able to attack one defense. Being able to swing for 21 with the defense position monster is pretty nice. As you can see, all these guys have pretty beefy defense, except for Astra pretty much being the weakest. Finally, we get to our extra deck. We got good old Abyss Dweller, which is 2 level 4 monsters. You're probably not going to make this very often, but I have sometimes. And when I have, it's been pretty useful. When it has material attached to water, all water monsters gain 5% attack. That's not relevant for us, but the one that is relevant is once per turn, quick effect. You can detach material. Your opponent can't activate any card effects from their graveyard this turn. So, pretty decent. I am thinking about switching this out for a level 9 Synchro of some sort, or maybe a third Lightheart, or just something else that has more utility. But for now, he's in the extra deck and it's decent. Then we have that Mirage we were talking about for combos. That's pretty much the reason why we would run him. The quick effect attributed it, target a monster you control, make it unable to be destroyed by your opponent's card effects this turn is also pretty decent. So, just decent card all around. And then finally we get to the Scareclaw Lightheart. He is one Scareclaw of the Starfrost monster. For this card's Link Summon, you can only use monsters in the main monster zone as material. If it's Link Summoned in the extra monster zone, you can add one primitive planet Reach Phobia from your deck to your hand. If you control Viscous Starfrost, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Scareclaw Lightheart once per duel. So having this just out, letting you get this is pretty nice. Just basically, you can go into Link 2 from that, or if you have another monster, you can very easily and effectively go into Tryhard. So being able to have that as like a little bit of a mini extender is pretty nice. Next we got the one Mrs. Radiant, because all of our dudes are Earth except for this guy. We're running the one the Dark Charmer for that. But Mrs. Radiant is just decent in general to kind of buff our defense for our guys, and also be there to recur them if we need to. One Nightmare Cerberus, one Nightmare Phoenix, one Tribrigadge Verjeet, the Baron Blossom. So during your main phase, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Beast, Beast Warrior, Winged Beast monster from your hand. You cannot use monsters as link material except for Beast, Beast Warrior, Winged Beast, yada yada yada. Sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card, then place one card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. You can only use each effect of tribrigadge, yada 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 once per turn. So decent effects, especially in this deck since you can just keep turboing things out. Next we have that the Dark Chimer we mentioned earlier, and then we have one Nightmare Unicorn, one tribrigadge Rugal the Silver Sheller. So Rugal here is during your opponent's main phase, quick effect. You can special summon one level 4 or lower Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your hand or graveyard. Negate its effects and return to the hand during the end phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you make all your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack for each monster type you control until the end of the turn. You can only use this effect, tribrigadge Rugal the Silver Sheller, once per turn. Both pretty decent effects. And then finally, well, not finally, but close to finally, we got Scareclaw Tryhard. It's 3 effect monsters, has to be link summon. All face-up monsters on the field are changed to defense position. All of them, that includes yours, unaffected by the activated effects of defense position monsters. Once per turn, if this card's in the extra monster zone, you can target one level 3 Scareclaw in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, add a Scareclaw monster from your deck to your hand. You cannot summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Scareclaw monsters. So, this effect is broken. Absolutely broken. Turning everything to defense, great. Unaffected by activated effects of defense position monsters, decent. The summon and search effect, completely broken. So summoning something back and then searching most of the time this guy and then getting a search from this guy, completely broken. And then finally we have Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. You can use one monster your opponent controls to link summon this card. I frequently use that card. So this dude's a link 5. When I have the 4 to summon it and my opponent has something that can't be removed by any other effect, I'll just link it off the board for Goddess of the Closed World. This link summon card's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons a monster from the graveyard, you can negate the activation. And the last thing I want to mention on real quick is we got our boy Trigate Wizard right here. You can run Trigate. He is a link 3. So it depends on how many is co-linked to him. It's pretty easy to co-link with him because you have the Scareclaw Lightheart and you got the Almirage that points down. But if you have one or more co-linked, any battle damage inflicts is doubled once per turn. 2+, you can target one card on the field and banish it. And then if you have the 3, you can negate the activation if you do banish the card when the card or effect is activated. So this card is kind of busted, just like a little bit busted. And it's not too hard to make the co-links for it. I'm not running it because I just haven't messed around with it yet. But if you like stuff like that, give it a shot. And yeah, that is it for the video. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and put my sponsor link to W Energy down below in the description. If you guys like a great tasting energy drink that doesn't give you a crash and also gives you a lot more energy than like canned energy drink from the grocery store, check the link down below and use code SirLargeGaming to get 10% off. And I will see you guys in the next one and leave you with the replays. Bye bye.